You're listening to episode 17 of StoryCast 21. I'm Jane Secker. On a quiet Monday in 2004, a separated father from Gloucestershire dressed up as a superhero before taking a dramatic course of action that would change his life and the lives of his children. This is Batman Raids Buckingham Palace.
My name is Martin Brunt. I'm Sky's crime correspondent. It was a Monday afternoon, 13th of September 2004, and we were suddenly told that Batman had broken into Buckingham Palace.
It's supposed to be one of the most secure buildings in the world, but yet somehow this happened. A campaigner conspicuously dressed managed to reach the balcony of Buckingham Palace despite the presence of armed guards.
My name is Jason Hatch. So the lad just pulled off, and the ladder, like I say, the ladder was going towards the building. As it's going towards the building, I've already climbed. Robin's behind me now. He's got the packed lunches, he's got the drinks, he's got the sandwiches, he's got it all in the backpack. I've got the banner, and that's all I have got.
Jason Hatch from the group Fathers for Justice then climbed onto the ledge, evading capture and sparking a massive security alert.
Of course, I make it up. For a while, I just froze. I thought, do I do it here? Do I just unveil the banner here? So I thought, no, so I kept going, and as I'm going, more guards and the police are coming out.
He was a disgruntled, distraught father who for some years had found it very difficult to get access to his children after his divorce. So he was representing a growing organisation called Fathers for Justice.
We thought, if we do this, yeah, it's going to be on the news, if we get away with it. I honestly really didn't think it'd be as big as what it was. I'm from Cheltenham, born and bred. I've always been a painter and decorator since leaving school. And I still continue doing that to this day. It was 2 days, 2 to 3 days before the 9/11 disaster. So I come home from working away and put the key in the door, opened the door, and the house was empty. I called my ex to find out where she was. She said she'd gone and left with the children, and that's when all my troubles started. I've got an eldest son. I've always seen him. Then I had 2 other children with my ex-wife. They was 2 and 1 at the time when she left. She just never ever turned up to any of the contact. Every week I'd be there because I kept saying to me, solicitor, oh, she hadn't turned up. Oh, well, you got to go. You got to make sure you turn up. And of course I'd be sat there for an hour, just watching cars come by and this and yeah. I just hit a brick wall with it, to be fair.
And on Saturday, this man brought the London Eye to a standstill by climbing to the top while dressed as another superhero.
Just after then is when I started up with Fathers for Justice.
The group was set up by fathers who feel they've been treated unfairly by courts in custody battles.
Fathers for Justice was a protest group that campaigned for equal access to children, equality between mothers and fathers.
The style of their campaigning is clearly designed to capture maximum publicity. But in this
Fathers for Justice, I think the first time was the Clifton Suspension Bridge in Bristol. We closed that one down, and I stayed up for 27 hours up on the bridge. That was my first arrest. And then after that, I stopped counting at 49 times, and there were several more after that.
Campaigners recently highlighted lax security at the House of Commons. They pelted Tony Blair with purple flower bombs, prompting fears of a biological attack.
I wonder why.
Order. This House is now suspended.
We had two guys that were on trial for the purple powder on Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, and so we thought, right, let's do something that we can get the support from our guys there in London.
Oh God, will advance. By the right.
And we need to go bigger than the Houses of Parliament.
No! Ah!
So, okay, there's only one place you can go bigger, and that's Buckingham Palace. Why Buckingham Palace and the Queen? When you're in family courts, behind the judge is a crest, and that's the Queen's crest. So all the orders that he's giving out is on her name. So it all fitted together. Okay, Buckingham Palace. We got a friend that lives in Isle of Dogs, and he's an activist himself, and so we stayed there with this map, this bird's eye view map of Buckingham Palace, and it was like, how are we going to do it then? And I looked at it and I thought, well, that's a flat roof there. If we put the ladder up there, that's going to make publicity a little bit. I said, so let's do it that way. Batman, for me, was the last film I watched with my son. It's a bit of humour, it's a bit of tongue-in-cheek. That, you know, you walk past the building, your kids say, oh, look, Mummy, Dad, you know, there's a superhero on the building. So we look at it like that and we think, yeah, that's fine. And you've got to also look, every dad is a child's superhero in one way. My dad's better than yours, no, your dad's better than mine. And a few people said, they're going to shoot you. You'll never get away with that. And I said, well, look, I haven't got my children, so there's no point in me living. I said, because they've taken away everything that means anything to me. They were my life, they've took it away, so we've got to go with it.
It's a very secure building. There are CCTV cameras, an alarm system, bulletproof windows. There's a very high, 14-foot high perimeter wall, fencing with spikes and barbed wire, and armed guards.
So we go there and have a look, and we pull over, and there's just these coach loads of armed guards just driving into the palace. Like, this is an insane idea to try and do this. This be a big one. We're in the back of the van, costumes, getting ready for the costumes. I still have my coats on. We had another activist guy, Eddie, bless him, driving the van. And all of a sudden he banged the van, go on boys, go, go, go. So he jumps out the back of my van. So the lad just pulled off. And the ladder, like I say, the ladder was going towards the building. As it's going towards the building, I've already climbed.
Jason Hatch, the protester, was dressed in black boots, black mask, black cape, a yellow and black Batman motif on his chest. It looked more like the sort of cheap, fancy dress costume you would buy at a shop to go to a party.
Robin's behind me now. He's got the packed lunches, he's got the drinks, he's got the sandwiches, he's got it all in the backpack. I look down and there's a guy there with a gun. He's saying, stop or I'll shoot, stop or I'll shoot. And of course, I make it up, and I look behind and I see Dave getting back down. Dave Pike, he was robbing all of my protests. I thought, well, I can't go back now. So I kept going, and as I'm going, more guards and the police are coming out. So I thought, well, here we go. And then so I start going along this ledge, and I'm stepping on bird wire. And also, this guy puts his arm through this doorway, which is, it's got to be roughly where I think the Queen's bedroom is, and he grabs hold of me. And I said, mate, get off, you know, fathers for justice. I'm shouting fathers for justice. And with that, he let go. And as he let go, I carried on, and I thought, oh, I'll reveal the banner here. I was still quite a distance away from the balcony. But then I looked at the balcony, and there's nothing stopping me from where I was to the balcony. So I thought, oh, okay. I carried on to the balcony. I had the banner made in Cheltenham, and it said, Fathers for Justice, Superhero Dads. It looked good. It did look good.
It's supposed to be one of the most secure buildings in the world, but yet somehow this happened. A campaigner conspicuously dressed managed to reach the balcony of Buckingham Palace despite the...
I was sitting at my office in Westminster and saw it on the news wires and headed straight down there. I didn't have far to go, but it was a security breach. It was an iconic building, and we were desperate to find out what the police were going to do and exactly what the intruder was up to.
The 33-year-old was helped by this man who was dressed as Batman's sidekick, Robin.
My kids are worth it.
He was arrested by police, but only after he'd given interviews to the media.
I'm on the ledge now, and the security have come out because obviously they thought I was going to come into the palace. And it was like, no, mate, I'm just here to do a protest on Fathers for Justice. And he said, how long are you going to be here? And I said, oh, only till the news at 5. I said, but when I've made the news at 5, I said, oh, I'll come off. And he said, mate, he said, you've gone on every channel around the world.
Well, we're going to turn now to a major security concern at Buckingham Palace this morning. A man scaling a fence to get inside the Queen's home in one of the most serious incidents there in decades. ABC's Nick Striffen is outside the palace.
It's very unusual for anybody to break into the palace grounds, but for Batman to do it, this iconic cartoon character to do it, made it even more enticing as a story. Who knew then how it was going to unfold?
It's supposed to be one of the most protected buildings in the world. Yet, all it took to spark a massive security alert was one determined protester.
I've been there about, I think I've been about an hour and a half now, 2 hours. And a guy turned around and said to me, if you come down now and come on in, there's somebody in here who wants to speak to you. Yeah. I said, is it my children? And he said, no. I said, well, tell him I don't want to speak to him then. And with that, Prince Charles looked round.
I'm afraid that I believe that we delude ourselves if we think that humanity is becoming ever more reasonable. It's simply not the case.
He had a suit on and a tie, and he had a bit of a grin on his face, because obviously you got Batman literally talking to him through these curtains.
We got there and we couldn't get as close to the palace as we wanted to. There were already lots of police. Once it was realised that there was something exciting going on, there were quite a few people gathering, but the police trying to keep us back. And throughout our live coverage, viewers could get a glimpse of Jason Hatch clinging to the palace wall, and attempts by police and others leaning over the balcony to try to talk him down.
My mum said she was shopping with a friend, and her friend had a telephone call, and she said, Margaret, we got to go home. My mum said, well, I haven't finished doing my shopping yet. I said, no, we really do need to go home. We need to go home now. And so she rushed my mum back home to put the television on.
Officers are continuing to urge his companion to come down, and although the Queen is not in residence, it is...
And she said, who's that? And she said, it's your Jason.
He couldn't really stand forward. He had to lean against the stonework, and the people trying to talk him down were hanging over the balcony of the palace. He could easily have fallen to his death, and with live cameras covering every moment of this, the authorities certainly didn't want to be seen to be causing him any real harm.
With the ambulance team, they said, look, you know, we can see you've dehydrated. You've been up here, I think it was about 4.5 hours at this time. He said, look, we need to get you a drink. If we get you a drink, will you drink it? I'm thinking, yeah, you've put something in it, and, you know, you're going to grab me. And he said, look, I promise you. He said, I promise you. He said, I swear, I wouldn't put anything in it. So we come out with a bottle of Lucasade. And that bottle of Lucasade, he turned around and he said, that is from the Queen's fridge. So I actually had a bottle of Lucasade from the Queen's fridge. You know, I had people out the front shouting, go on, Batman. And of course the crowd was picked up by this time, and there was a load of horns going off. And I still didn't realise, I still didn't think how big it actually went.
Buckingham Palace security is supposed to be top-notch, but this morning we're learning a man was able to scale the 12-foot wall.
Royal security was recently overhauled after a Daily Mirror reporter got a job at Buckingham Palace as a servant in
one of the most serious security breaches here in more than 30 years.
And this morning, police are
You know, I was shouting, all I want to do is see my children. And basically, fathers' rights, children's rights, to change in this country. The head of security, which obviously I was talking to him, saying to him, look, this, you know, I want to see my children, and he's going, yeah, I sympathise with you, and I said, yeah, but it's not sympathy we want. You know, anyone who can give you sympathy, we want the law changed. And, you know, I was talking, telling him everything, basically what we stand for. And he was going, yeah, I understand that. It'd been so long of not seeing my children. I thought I had it on my shoulders it was for other people really to see their children, and maybe those that are seeing their children, they wanted more time with their children, and maybe for the judges to actually think, hang on a minute, you know, this has got to change. Something's got to happen here. I think I was up there for 7 hours. And then I could feel my legs starting to go. Everything sort of like was hitting me all at once. I said, okay, look, I'm starting to get a bit tired now, can I come down? And he said, yeah, by all means. He said, you know you're going to be arrested. I said, yeah, that's fine.
He couldn't be allowed to try and edge his way back to the balcony, or indeed come down the way he got up, so they brought in a cherry picker. And he was escorted into the cradle of the cherry picker and then brought gently down to the ground, where he was promptly arrested.
Officials videoed every step of Batman's progress, and a report's been sent to the Crown Prosecution Service, who will consider bringing charges by the end of the year.
I was arrested and on suspicion of criminal damage. Yeah, I was handcuffed, and obviously they read me the rights and took me to Balmoral Police Station. 2 police officers come in, and they said they're from the serious crime unit. I had my solicitor from Cheltenham screaming down the phone at me, saying, you've done it now, you're going to prison for this, you're going to prison for this. And yeah, so I accepted that. I might well go to prison for it. And it was like a good cop, bad cop. And he said, let me put it to you, you scaled the walls of Buckingham Palace in a Batman costume, and I'm sat there in a Batman costume, and he's got the front page of a newspaper.
Jason Hatch, the Gloucestershire decorator, who stripped bare the cracks in royal security, reaps more of the media storm his daring intrusions whipped up.
It never even went to court. They just turned around and dropped the charges.
After a night in police cells, he was out and heading for the scene of his alleged crime. Strained and tired-looking, he had to be prompted into drawing attention to fathers separated by law from their children.
The trespass, that probably, even though it's the Queen's property, we actually pay it as taxpayers. So that was my argument, was that, well, how can I be trespassed when I actually own part of that, because I pay my taxes?
Jason, what do you think you achieved yesterday?
Public awareness, and hopefully my children have seen it, and they know that I haven't gone away, and I ain't going away, so I get to see my children, and this law is changed, so every father, grandparent can see the children.
Apparently enjoying the limelight, Hatch was arrested after spending over 5 hours close to the royal balcony of what was supposed to be...
About a week later, I had a call from my barrister saying, we got to go to London, the Royal Courts of Justice, the following day. And I said, well, what for? And she said, I don't know. She said, I've just had it come through that we need to go. And I said, oh, okay. And there was Lord Faulkner there. Anyway, they come in and they said, what would stop you from protesting? And I said, I want to see my children. And I said, well, like I've always asked for, every other weekend after school holidays. School reports, stuff that dads normally get. So he said, yeah, we're going to give you that. He said, but he said it's going to come with something that you got to give to us. And I said, well, what's that then? He said, well, you've got to stop protesting. We're going to stick a 10-year ASBO on you. You're not allowed no more than 3 meters off the floor. And I said, well, how's that going to work when I'm a painter and decorator? I work off ladders.
If anyone was encouraged by yesterday's Batman stunt, think twice before you go ahead. You risk being shot. At this current
he had generated enormous publicity for himself and his own situation. and for fathers for justice generally, all dads who were having trouble getting access to their kids.
Oh, it set Fathers for Justice into outer space. I think we had about 12,000 new members join up. It just went wild, to be fair.
They caught the public imagination, they were often cheered during their protests, and they were either not charged at the end of them or in some cases were acquitted by juries who clearly had some sympathy for what they were doing.
But in another way, it's sort of like it died, because obviously I couldn't protest and no one's sort of like took my place then, and therefore I've not really heard much of Fathers for Justice ever since then.
But it did prompt a debate, even if it didn't lead to any great changes in the law. And it did later, much later, lead to some lifting of the secrecy of family court hearings.
The outcome of my protest was me getting to see my children again and being a dad. And now they're all grown up. I've got my 16-year-old who's moved in with me. Dad, I want to move in with you. And I said, okay, have you spoke to your mother? Yep. So she lives here now with me. I've got my eldest daughter. She's 20. She's here all the time. Sunday dinners. Dad, can I have some money? Dad, can I have this? As parents do. And my son turns up here for his tea. He's looking at a place to live now, so we're looking at places to live. And it's sort of my children sort of like chuffed with what I'd done. They, because they thought they'd never see me again. And now they've had a chance to see me, be with me, of the last, so many years now, and I've been there for them, done this for them, as a dad should do with the children.
So having achieved their aim of intense publicity, the dynamic duo return home, leaving the police with the problem of what to do with this ineffective barrier and how to increase it without losing the accessibility that's so important a part of the police.
Batman Raids Buckingham Palace was produced by Rob Mulhern and Tom Gillespie. For more information on this episode, go to skynews.com/StoryCast21. StoryCast is Sky News' multi-award-winning storytelling podcast unit. Next time.
I remember after work, I went to library in Bromley and stayed there to use the computer, internet.
I have some breaking news coming from the Metropolitan Police. We understand that there are reports that police have shot a suspected suicide bomber in South London. According to...
I read the police in London shoot to kill a terrorist.
But there have been subsequent reports suggesting that shots have been fired from a Northern Line train. This man was apparently taken, and we are hearing that shots were fired. Police